Ray. What do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
All right, yo, let's get into it.
Try to take over the world.
Reaching
Try to take over the world.
And greatest chaplain in the world, Mr.
Try
Lance
to
O'Neill.
take over the world.
Yo, what up, world? What up? It's another Sunday evening. And do you know where your folks are? Of course you do, man. We are right here in the building. It is your boy, KJ Bradley, with the world's greatest chaplain, Mr. Lance O'Neill. And if you haven't noticed by now, we have a special guest. We have in the house tonight, Sara the Raging Tomato, Miss Moderator du jour. She is a bad mama jamma from all things I can check out. Not my proudest fan. Oh, I see.
Don't worry about my chat. They're off in their own little world.
Listen, I am ready to rock. Let's get it on, Chappie. You got the driver's seat, my brother. I am ready to ride. Let's get it.
Well, you're not going to ask me how I'm doing or anything, KJ? How rude.
Pardon my manner, sir. How are you? How is your
I'm
week?
good. It was well, actually, it wasn't very uneventful. We had a child who's currently going to be in a lot of trouble as an 18-year-old, and I'm not going to get into it, but she's going to. Oh yeah. So, Sara, that little thing that you just did, yeah, try that.
Oh,
bad
big
kind.
no.
Very big no. So we're going to deal with that this week. But other than that, everything's great. How was your week, KJ? You got back from Hawaii, or you have housing coming in tomorrow, right?
I do. We took an impromptu trip to Hawaii for a week just to see some different stuff, man. This transient living in hotels is getting a little claustrophobic. So we decided to go get some island therapy, which was absolutely fantastic. And now we're back in the hotel for the final week. We should have our housing signed for, fingers crossed, know how the Army is, tomorrow. And I'll be stationary. But until then, man, I can't complain having people clean up my room every day and, make my bed and food delivered to me every day. I can get used to it. I need to hit this lottery so I can have this happen to me on the regular.
Apparently, you have to be a felon nowadays to win the lottery, though.
What are your dogs doing back there?
So they're playing. They are just playing. They are not doing anything inappropriate. They are on a bed, but they are just playing. Well, my youngest, yes.
Is that what your parents called it?
My favorite is from 30 Rock. They called it "Mommy Daddy Sheep Monster Time." That might be my favorite line from whatever sitcom. So KJ might be in and out because he's in a hotel. There he goes. He'll come back in. Yeah.
I would hate hotel living. I am a person of like routine, consistency. Everything has to be the same. So when I hate traveling. I mean, I love traveling, but I hate the idea that I don't have everything consistent and regulated. Ugh.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, that's one of the things with the military is you're moving basically every 3 years. And so my wife at about 2.5 years every time will go, okay, I'm finally in the house where I've got it how I want it. And I'm ready to, kind of make it my own. And we're moving, let's start packing things up in 6 months. So we're finally at the point where I'm retiring. I was going to retire at the end of this month. It's getting pushed 6 months, which is good. And so we're going to end up retiring in December and staying here most likely. So for, it looks like most of the people watching are going to be your people, but I don't know how many of your people have ever heard you actually be the person who's getting interviewed.
The last time I was interviewed was with a Caucasian Sasquatch, I believe, and we all got drunk and it was fun, so it worked.
Well, I'm not going to be drinking, but if you two feel so inclined, KJ was just on a bender. He was in Hawaii and told all about it. He decided that he found there was a place in Honolulu.
It's called 604 in Honolulu, and I hadn't had a drink in about 6 years. But since I was in Hawaii for the week, I figured why the hell not? Plus, I had a good friend of mine who, he's a great guy. So he was like, "Hey man, let's go have a drink." And I was like, "All right, cool. One drink. What's the worst that can happen?" And it slowly turned into a hangover episode. After a while, we were having drinks for breakfast, and then we go play golf, and we drink on the course, and then after the game, we'd go have a drink to cool down, and then a drink for brunch, and then obviously we got to watch the taste of the drinks out of our mouth, so we got more drinks, and then another drink for dinner, and then we had to have a drink for nightcap, and then the next morning we woke up to drink to get the hangover over after. So yeah, after 6 years of sobriety, I went on a week-long bender with old fashions, and now I'm back to reality, and I haven't been. The fog hasn't lifted quite yet. I'm still there.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I actually like minimalized my drinking. Not that I was over drinking, but I used to host a sip and stream every Saturday night because it just like randomly started one night. It was a Saturday night. My kids were gone for the weekend, and I thought like, oh, like I could go out to a bar or I could come and, do a show and drink with you guys. And then it turned into a thing, and then it started kind of getting heavy on me. Like, man, Sunday mornings suck. I like this is miserable. And by the time I hit 5K, that's when the debates obviously set off. But when we had our 5K celebration, I said, this is our final like official sip and stream. I will not be hosting these anymore unless we're just kind of like a couple Fridays ago, we did like a goofy whatever stream, but it starts to hurt after a while.
Yeah,
it really does.
Yeah.
I'll trust you guys that it hurts because I don't drink, and I've been legitimately drunk one time in my life, and I was 22, and the next morning I woke up and went, "This sucks. I have more fun when I'm sober." So I'm kind of that dorky LDS guy that just never got into it. But those that do, hey, as long as you're not drinking and driving, and you're in the comfort of your own home and on your own podcast, hey, cool, whatever works.
Well, that's how I looked at it. Like I could go out and spend money, or I can stay home and make money. Like either way, I'm still drinking and hanging out with people I like, so it works.
That's the trick.
Making fun money.
That might be the quickest way to get your now. Okay, so Sara, because KJ and I, this is we've been doing this for 2 years. We look at this as our fun time, right? Because we generally have not lived real close to each other. We served in El Paso for about 3 years together, and then we lost track, and then we came back together. And so for us, doing this was just we would get together for lunch every once in a while. And then it was like, well, because we would talk politics and we talk about what's wrong with the world and all that. And so from there it became, hey, let's just do this online. We started doing this. And, we don't get a huge amount of traction. We get some CTR network and some different things. But how did you get into the whole idea of getting online and turning this? And I assume this is your career. Do you count this as your career?
Soon it will be. I have my 5, but I'm working towards, like, I'm realizing the 9 to 5 is actually in my way now.
Oh,
yeah. So now I'm working towards kind of switching over and backing away from the 9 to 5 portion of it and focusing more on the YouTube, and we'll see. I've got some things in the process and a lot of stuff working behind the scenes right now that will set sail to me being a full-time streamer. So we'll see.
So what was your chosen profession before this?
I was I was the director of compliance for a financial management firm. It was really fun, enjoyable. It was definitely in the world of what my education served. So that was enjoyable. And then I actually stepped back after a few years of that. And I actually stepped back into an old role I used to play where I'm an executive admin. So I do a lot of fully functional operational support, lots of heavy calendar management, event planning, like crazy stuff. But basically the same thing I do on YouTube is what I do in the real world. So messaging people, getting people on the calendar, flexing around, aligning everyone. Okay, wait, I think I got it. Okay, and networking, connecting, all of those things. It just naturally worked its way in. So, yeah.
So I assume part of your normal job was not getting between two people and saying, "Settle down, both of you, or I'm going to have to hit the mute button."
I mean, no, not really.
That's HR's job.
Yeah, that's HR. I mean, I played a semi-HR role with compliance because compliance is having to tell people, no, you have to do it this way. And when they push back or two people are bickering about the idea of like, well, why do we do it this way? Why? And then you have to come in with the translation. So I think everything kind of rolled in perfectly as it was. And, it just kind of naturally flowed into that direction. It worked. It worked.
No, that's really cool. I think it's great whenever anybody, especially because we're military guys, anytime somebody's able to find that second career that really fits them, I just stand up and applaud because I think it's great, because too many people, I think, get stuck in something they don't really want to be in. And I think that's, by the time people get out of the military, that's the vast majority of it's like, I am done with this BS. I don't want to do this anymore. I'd rather go sweep floors than stay in the Army another day.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't. YouTube was not supposed to be working for me the way it is now. I didn't anticipate, it wasn't my plan. It wasn't supposed to be like full steam ahead kind of thing. It was just, it started, I was a panelist for a couple years, just hanging out with other people's channels. I was a guest. I did some speed dating, which somebody actually found one of those videos and they're like, what do you still do? Like, where is this? So it was just, I was just a panelist playing in a space and just jumping on other people's shows and having a good time. And then, I finally got to the point where I'm like, I think I could do this myself. I was making fun little parody videos and just simple having fun, but it wasn't anything I was committed to, and I wasn't planning on making anything big out of it. So then I started streaming last January, not this past one, but the year before. I started streaming like one night a week just for kind of shits and giggles, and it was fun and kind of explorative. And then by that summer I hosted a debate on my channel. Just kind of happened because of some drama and crazy stuff. And then it just now here we are. I don't know. I don't know what happened.
So wait, how did the brand come about? The Raging Tomato.
The Raging Tomato. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So you may not know who the Hormaxer is, and that is a channel name. That is a person in this space. But during my panelist times, it was during a speed date. The Hormaxer came on and started asking a lot of weird questions like, so if we go on a first date, can we go to a sex club as our first date? And I was like, no, I'm like, does this work for you? I'm not impressed, And he didn't like my feedback. He wasn't really excited. A lot of people know who he is in our space, but he didn't like it. And then the next time I interacted with him, he was so angry still. And he was like just upset and really mad at me. Yeah, I'm a cowboy. And he's like, you see, your face is red. You're fucking angry. You look like a tomato. You're the Raging Tomato. And I was like, oh my God, that's it. And it started as kind of a joke, but then I think a couple weeks later, I'm like, I need to rebrand right now. And I didn't even have a channel yet. I was just a name in the chat or a name on like a panelist on a show. And I was like, I'm changing my name right now. And now it kind of works because you don't want to see me rage, right? Like we all know when you Chaplain, you got lucky. You never had to see any of that. You had a really nice, easy night. But there are times where I'll people upset me. I've booted people. I've just gone off and I'm like, no. And so it actually works.
So you would have booted me for that joke we made just before we started, I'm guessing.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
I'm not going to let anybody know what that joke was. That was something between us.
I only boot if people are actually breaking TOS. Like the terms of service or saying
Yeah.
things that like, no, we don't do that, and then they want to continue, or they don't even care that they did it. Or if they're like bluntly disrespectful to me, because at the end of the day, I'm still the host. This is still my show, and you're not going to come in, scrub your feet all over me, with mud and everything.
Yeah.
So I've even permanently banned people. We just had that happen. I don't know, a couple months ago. Just permanently banned someone because I was like, no, I'm tired of it. You're done. You have outstayed your welcome here. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what people like. There's an all or nothing, like on X. It's if you block somebody or not. And I found that for the most part, the people that either block really too easily or just don't ever block. And there's a point where for me it's like, I'm not going to block you unless you're purposefully, like, you've been told, hey, don't do that a couple times. You're being a jerk. You're attacking me personally. I don't appreciate that. Just back off. And then they keep doing it. It's like, okay, now you're blocked. So I got to assume you've got to have a little bit more rope with the average person in the space.
Yeah, there's I don't know. I'm told I have a very high level of tolerance for people. And I mean, I look at it this way, like, you are all in this little box in front of me on the screen. And when I'm done, I just close that magical box and you all disappear. Right. So to me, people can be, they can act up, they can say stupid stuff. I have pretty thick skin for it. But it's the idea that knowing I just close that magical box and you won't go away. So you don't affect me. You're not here in my house. You're not paying my mortgage. You're not, taking my kids to school. You have no effect on my personal life. So anything you say, there's no credibility or validation behind it, and it doesn't matter.
I've actually told people that as a chaplain, because they'll talk to me about things like, how do you not, like, you have people telling you all your problems and all this. How do you deal with that? And I'm like, are you kidding? When I walk out or they leave my office, I don't think about them anymore. They're not my problem.
Yep. It's a magical, you have to kind of disconnect though, right? So especially in this space, it's especially because it gets very contentious, but like high level of stress and things going on and just a lot of moving parts. And I always like to say I'm peopling the people. So you kind of have to have, like, I put on a whole different face and a whole different person when I turn that camera on and I hit go live. That is the Raging Tomato. But once that camera's off and I go upstairs and I go to bed, like, I am back down to, okay, I'm Sara. And you have to be able to separate those two, because if you don't, all of this will get to you and affect you. I've seen people burn out and like just disappear for weeks or months, or just nuke their channels altogether because they get too emotionally and personally involved in what they're doing here. But me, if you look at everybody like a character, then you're just watching a show that you happen to be participating in.
That's a good way of putting it.
Mm-hmm.
In all your times of moderating, have you ever regretted giving anybody the mic?
Oh, God.
That's a yes.
Yeah. There's a lot of, especially Spicoli. Everybody knows Spicoli around parts. And I actually give him a time limit. I'm like, Spicoli, you got 2 minutes, spit it out, keep it clean, or you go home.
Is he the one that had the tissues up his nose?
No.
A couple weeks ago? Who's that?
That's Jim Bob's new YouTube buddy. They started a show together. That was actually the first time that gentleman had been on my screen.
Oh.
And there again, it's just a character, right? That he's playing a part. But Spicoli, I've known Spicoli since I first started on YouTube. And he always likes to say that, like, I've known Sara for years, blah, 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 blah. And she's this and it's like, go home, Spicoli, So
yeah, that was weird for me, because when you open it up after Andrew and I had our debate, I think he was on there and everybody, Spicoli, shut up. I'm like, does he have a question? Like, I don't know who this guy is. Everybody's ripping on the guy. I'm like, oh man, your reputation doth precede you.
Yes, he was a regular on LFA's show, and that was another place that I was a regular panelist for. And it would get to the point where Spicoli and I would just be bickering back and forth and back and forth, and he has certain words he likes to use, and all these things I don't even know. He's always off the charts, and that's why he knows you are limited. Your time here is limited because the only reason I still let him up is because he's kind of like grandfathered in because of our history, but if anybody else tried to come on and pull that stunt, I'd be like, bye, Felicia. I don't, nope, no, absolutely not. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of debates where, when I'm done, I'm like, that was not good. That was it was too much or too heavy or maybe I let somebody cook a little too harshly on the other person or things like that. And it's like, and you got to find you're going to mess up every time.
Yeah.
I just accept and embrace that every debate I walk into, like, I'm probably going to mess something up. I'm going to miss something. I'm going to give somebody the mic over somebody else, or somebody's not going to talk a lot. And you just accept it. And it's like, I'm not perfect and I never will be. So it is what it is. People know what to expect when they come to my show. And, I try.
So what would you, I don't want to say like, what's your dream debate? Because that's always a stupid question. But like what generically, what would you say? This is what I'd like from if it could be up to me, this is how I would like to see every debate kind of run. Like how much energy versus how much contention versus,
there's got to be a balance. I'm all for balance. And when it's very clearly off balance, I can see it, I can smell it, I can taste it, and I can hear it. And I'm just like, this debate is so off balance right now. You got very lucky. Like your debate with Andrew went very pleasant. It was a conversation. It wasn't like he wasn't grilling you harshly and calling you names and things like that. So, obviously that was a pretty well balanced debate, but it wasn't entertaining enough either.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a way to balance a panel, knowing who to put on which side, if it's 2v2, 1v1, knowing how it's going to turn out. There's some debaters I'm like, I am not putting you up against anybody who's nice, right? Or anybody who can't defend themselves or throw the insults back. Or there's other debaters that are really kind of what I would say whiny. They whine like, well, they're interrupting me, or they're like, it's my turn, or they're not answering, and they're kind of whiny. And I'm just like, I know that I have to put you up with somebody who's not going to destroy you, because you'll just cry about it the whole time. So there's a pretty good balance way to do it. And I won't give away the secret codes, but just knowing how the people operate, who they are. Sometimes people bring debates to me, so I can't help it, right? Like, it is what it is, and I'm just like, I'm like biting my nails before we get to it. But overall, if I can control the panel and what it looks like, I will be very picky sometimes.
No, I get that, because like I look back with Andrew, and for me to come in as literally a first time, and Andrew is the master debater, then there's an unevenness. But what disappointed me was 2 weeks later, you had two others do the same prompt, the same as Joseph Smith, the prophet. And the parts that I watched, I'm like, they're using almost the exact same. The two guys that were against Joseph Smith were using almost the exact same tax. They were using the South Carolina and the Book of Abraham. And I'm like, did you guys not watch what Andrew said? Like, you could have had answered prepared for this. And I like, even after the fact, I went back and now I'm reading stuff. I'm like, oh, that's what I should have said. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, and in this space too, because the debates are most of the time you're repeating the same talking points in arguments and cases. And there's, if you're smart enough and wise enough, you will go do the research and see what that person does and says as like as their arguments, and you can try to already have something prepared to like fire back. So it's really smart if you're smart about it, you'll figure out how to do it. But I mean, it takes a lot of time to even get up to that point. But I've seen amateurs come on and just annihilate too, so you never know.
I think part of it's tough because I am, for me coming in as a chaplain, my job is not to show you that I'm right. My job really was to, come in and say, hey, here's kind of my side, but support everybody in their own beliefs. It's tough for me to go, no, I think you're wrong, jackass. So
why not? It's so easy. You just did it. See? It works.
But but I also knew I had somebody like, hey, this is how Andrew deals. I'm like, dude, do you think I've never watched Andrew have a debate? And to me, it makes sense not to come in with claws out on somebody like Andrew, right. Where, I watched him and Jay go on to Piers Morgan, and, they were the gay liberals or whatever they called them. And they thought that was so clever.
What did he say? It was a term, a word he made up. Gaytheist. He said
gaytheist. That's what it was.
Yeah. I was dying.
Okay, so with gaytheist being mine, I got a question for you. So, what are some of the things that smart people like to throw? Since you've probably heard it all, right? So, what are some of the things that smart people like to throw that just make you roll your eyes and want to throw a shoe at them?
Well, you said smart people.
Well,
you mean smart asses?
Marks. Yeah, okay. Smart in quotation marks.
There are repeating patterns of arguments that always fail the logic test. So when somebody uses something that has failed over and over and over again in past debates, and I've seen it, it's like, and sometimes the other debater, maybe not knowing, might not catch it or might not know what the argument would be to it. But when I watch the same, it's like, oh, here we go again, here it comes. So, and it happens. I love my chat. My chat they entertain me, especially during the slower debates.
Yeah, they keep it going. So, all right. So, knowing you as you build your experience, right? As you laid it out, what are some of the red flags? Like when people each other be like, hey, I want to collab or I want to do this debate. What are some of the red flags that go off you and you be like, nah, you're not ready for that yet?
Well, I don't even pin the red flags necessarily. I look at because I get a lot of messages from people who typically they'll let me know. They'll say, hey, I'm new to this space. I was recommended to come over here to get on a debate panel, so on and so forth. And this is how I know if they're serious about it or not. If they just want kind of what I call a free meal, right? They just want me to hand it to them. I always say, hey, we have open panels after every debate. If there's a topic that interests you or something, jump on the open panel. We do this every night, that we host a show. We always go into open panel. So come join the open panel. That way we can start getting a feel for you and who you are and what your talking points are. And this, again, it leads into me balancing panels this way. Yeah. And they work their way up. Marte just did this, and Marte's already had I think 3 or 4 debates here on my show, but he started, I said, jump on open panels, and he kept doing it. Thank you, Kissy Cat. But yeah, I mean, and that's, to me, I look at it as if you don't have prior history and I look at, do you have a following? Do you have a history of doing debates? Have you been on a lot of shows? Have you been around the block? Do people know you? And it's not necessarily, I want to make sure that I'm winning by pulling somebody's audience. It's not that. It's, have you already done the work?
Yeah.
And I'm all for hosting amateurs. I will bring that. I mean, Lance, you came on. You've never even debated before, right? I'm all for it. I have no issue with it. It's just, I'm not just going to hand it out because you messaged me and said I want to do a debate.
Yeah.
I'll say, come on, show me that you want to do a debate, and we'll get you there.
Nice.
So, yeah.
I thought KJ had another one.
I can keep firing them off, man, but I'm
go. Yeah, no.
I'm trying to stay in the passenger seat on this one, man. I really just.
Why?
I mean, I can lead this whole conversation for the both of you gentlemen. Actually, I want to know what are 2 POGs? What are POGs? I mean, you say POGs, and I think of the 1990s POGs. And then you had the Pinky and the Brain reference in the intro. So I'm like, oh my God, you're like bringing back my childhood. This is great.
Yeah.
So what are POGs?
Yeah. So great question, but this is weird. You flipped the interview on us.
You like that? That's what I do best.
So POG is just a colloquialism from the military that stands for, or acronym that stands for persons other than grunts, which are, grunts are affectionately named as infantrymen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in the infantry community, if you're anything outside of infantry, you're a POG, basically. And we just kind of adapted that with him being a chaplain and me being a field artilleryman. We just kind of adapted that moniker and said, you know what, this is who we are. This is what we do. Let's just embrace it. And then the Pinky and the Brain theme came about because, like Lance said earlier, we just, for a while, we would sit around and just have lunches around the Augusta area. And before we noticed it, we'd have these crowds sitting around us. And these, 45-minute lunches turned into like 3 and 4 hour panel discussions with strangers we've never even met before about some of the wildest topics. And, it got to a point to depending on whichever side of the argument we were on, I was either a bootlicking liberal a bootlicking Republican, you know what I'm saying, or bleeding liberal. And I'm just like, bro, I'm really just like, at the end of the day, I don't care who does it. I just want it solved, right? We just want to fix it. So, and that's the military philosophy, because, you've had, after you stay in for a while, you run the gamut of all kinds of commanders, right? So, but the only thing that matters in the end of the day is, did you accomplish the mission or not? So we decided to take that and translate that into the podcast. And lo and behold, this is how we've been rocking ever since. 2 POGs trying to save the world.
Aww.
Yeah.
And we make pennies every week.
We made 12 cents last week. So we are rocking.
12 cents.
I loved it.
But the fun thing about though is we kind of joke about that, but at the same time, like for us, it really is. This is my last week. I said, hey, KJ and I are gonna get on like on Wednesday or something. We're just gonna go for however long and we ended up going like 2 hours. And my wife's like, why do you do that? Like, nobody cares. I'm like, I don't care if anybody cares. This is me and KJ. This is how we keep our friendship going. We just happen to do it online, and we happen to talk about whatever comes up. We don't, on a normal Sunday night, we'll generally have some pretty political topics, or if we have an interview, we'll do the interview. But for the most part, it's just a chance for us to catch up and just kind of talk to each other, because we're friends. And I would hope that everybody has somebody
the
that
is real.
It absolutely is. Yeah.
Yeah. Our wives have been in our ear constantly, like, why are nobody's even listening? I was like, we're listening. And then what we're finding,
I love how your wives hate this. I would think that they'd like it because it gets you guys out of their space for a couple hours, right? Like, I'd be like, oh, he's going to his room to go talk to his buddy. I'm like, I can go catch up on some shows. I can go like do laundry in peace. I can, paint my nails without having to find your keys for you. It's beautiful.
That's really how I look at it. Like, I don't, when my wife talks to her sister for hours on end 3 times a week or 4 times a week, I'm not like, are you talking to her again? I'm like, hey, go talk to her. Hi, sister. Bye. I don't have to get too involved. I'm like, you go do you. That's totally cool.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. So how did you get started? Well, you kind of gave the story, but what made you say, like, let's do this on YouTube?
I think we were at the Korean restaurant one night, and the guy was like, hey man, where can we watch this at? And we were like, watch what? Like, what do you want to watch? We're just having dinner. And he was like, man, are you guys filming? Are you recording this? I was like, nah, we just get together and whatever's going on, we'll talk. So Lance was like, hey man, I've seen people do podcasts and YouTube. We should try to do it, right? So neither one of us had done a podcast, anything. So we've literally fumbled through how to set up a channel, how to set up a TikTok.
KJ did.
And
not me.
Oh man, it has been an adventure. And then TikToks are really, it's a really great platform, because that's where we get the most heat from our interviews. And the conversations we hear is just really, really weird. Like the same dude will come in and blast you one week and then totally support you the next week. And you be like, bro, you be like, like what is going on? So it just, I don't know, just cutting our teeth and trying to find it the hard way.
My favorite of all time though, and KJ knows which one I'm about to say. We've been talking because KJ's black, so he's been given the representation for all black people in America.
He is dead set on that.
No, this is an inside joke because when I say like, "Hey, what about this?" he goes, I do have the representation for all black people in America, and so I have representation for just me. But we were talking about race, and we were talking about this, and the comment he showed me was from another black guy, another African American, and it said, "Dude, you should know better." That was it.
A penultimate comment. You should know better. That was the whole comment. Like, bro, what are you doing?
We're just talking about stuff, the real world stuff. Like, how do we actually interact in society? What are things we could do? What are how do we make life better for everybody? And racism. One of the things about racism, you actually talk about it. Like, if you have a problem, you talk it through, right? And you should know better was the comment. That cracks me up every time.
Yeah, we get. I've been called, a traitor to my race, and and my favorite one is do more research. And then the guy, we post up the research that we had, and they be like, "Oh, well, I didn't know that." You like,
how convenient. Maybe they should do more research. Yeah, the keyboard warriors are my favorite. Like they keep the show moving. I swear, they watch just to be able to comment hateful things, and I'm like, keep going, keep clicking those buttons. Hit it. Hit the dislike button for all I care because it still adds to my algorithm. Go right ahead.
Oh yeah, like now I go on to either X or onto YouTube now, and one of the first things pops up and says when your next one is coming on. I'm like, I would never have gotten that if I hadn't gone on and watched a few of the different debates. And it's not like I've gone on and forwarded through my debate like 18 times or anything, but no. But it is one of those things. Yeah, the algorithms. And it really is one of those things that you kind of go, how much are we being manipulated by these big industries simply because my wife all the time, she does this. She'll be like, hey, have you thought about buying, grapes this week or something, I need new pants. And then she'll show me that night and go, look at what my Amazon's trying to sell me.
Yep.
Like what? Like I don't ever get those ads. We call it the spy.
Yeah.
And if you ask it, hey Alexa, are you just bleeped? Are you listening in on me? It'll say no.
Sarah, what are some of your most memorable debates? I'm curious to know.
You mean other than me and Andrew?
Other than you and Andrew. Yes, it was very memorable.
Once I woke up.
Let's see. Obviously the Andrew debates are usually the most wild typically, but not necessarily. Anything that's red pill, my chat and people eat it up like it's their job. And I don't know if you know what the red pill is, but it's just like male to female relationships and how women only want your money and they like hypergamy and all of these
the
things.
Andrew Tate stuff.
Yes. Okay. So you're in there. So anything red pills just always off the charts. But probably my most craziest memorable would be the moon landing debate. I actually had to remove that whole video because the panel was so like they were all having fun. Everybody was having fun. Nobody was upset, but they were insulting each other so harshly that I'm like, number one, the word usage that they were going through, I was like, that's not going to fly. And then like everything that they were doing, I'm like, this is straight cyberbullying style. It's like, this is going to get reported. I got to fix all this. I need to cut all the bad language out. And I went through 7 hours because the panel was just so lit that night. 7 hours, just cut everything and had to re-upload it. But it was like all four of them were just having so much fun cutting each other down. It got to a point they were singing Aladdin, I Can Show You the World. They were making specific religion insults based on a certain one that has, you know, the this thing and stuff, you know, I'll avoid saying words, but like they were just going all over the place. And
It's okay to say Judaism.
well, we avoid, and these are this is good to know. These are like trigger words where the algorithm picks it up and it's like, what are you doing? What are you talking about? What do I need to check out over here? So that's why we avoid, like the guy with the stash that did a lot of bad things back in the 40s. Like we avoid
That one
saying
I can
all of these
understand, sure.
specific words because that's a trip. But if you say they all start linking up, and then the algorithm, or you know, the little transcript bots are like, hey, no, there are too many words, I don't like this. And then you know, yeah, so it gets messy. But the moon landing debate was probably my top favorite. Crazy, it even got to a point where I'm like, I hate you all, just go away. Like, I'm so done with all of you, I hate you, stop it. But we were all laughing through the whole thing, so it was good.
So the debate was whether we've been to the moon or not.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It was a conspiracy theory debate. It was good. It was good. The fight was strong. The fight was strong on both ends.
KJ actually has, he made up an actual tinfoil hat. So whenever he starts going to conspiracy, he will literally put the tinfoil hat on. But we laugh at conspiracy theories for the most part because we knew this guy, Benz. His name was Benz Shovel. And Benz was a guy that when we were in the field, we would say, hey, Benz, I've got a couple hours to waste. What's the most recent conspiracy? I mean, we're talking that there is a secret naval armada on the other side of the moon. There are mole people inside the earth. It was some of the most crazy stuff. And you just sit there going, tell me more. This is just tell me more.
It's like a child telling a storybook or something, like creating a whole new storybook on the fly. Yeah, we have. I mean, we've had some conspiracy. I know when we do a conspiracy theory topic, like they come out of the woodworks and they come flying in hard too. And you know, when they show up on panel and you're like, this is you're just weird. You're just weird.
Yeah.
But you just accept it and embrace it, and you're like, whatever, you're here, you got things to say, whatever. But yeah, conspiracy theories can be fun. They can, you know, sometimes they can almost convince me. Almost.
Oh my God, really?
Because I'm like, really? Okay, wait, but you have evidence of this? Yeah. And then if you know, this over here and this over there, and then they'd start connecting the dots, and you're like, does kind of make sense. Okay, keep going. And then I like step back into reality. You're like, nah.
So is there a topic that you would not allow to be debated? Let's say, for example, because one, I think that it gets too much traction in the conspiracy world is about the Holocaust. The Holocaust didn't happen. And if anybody ever came to me and said, hey, I want to talk to you about if the Holocaust happened, my response would be, it did, full stop. I'm not going to talk to you about it otherwise. I've met too many. I've personally spoken with people with tattoos on their arms and such. Is there maybe a different one that you'd be like, or what's been proposed?
One hard no I have is flat Earth. I've had quite a few people ask, like, hey, will you host a flat Earth debate? And I'm like, I don't want that level of crazy.
Yeah.
You know, like I just don't. Not only that, I've seen it be done over and over and over on modern day debate, and I'm just like, I feel like it's overdone over there. No shots fired at James, he's great. But like, it's you hear one, you hear them all. And this is another reason why I'm like very particular on the like having different prompts than what's usually done, because I see a lot of other debates like kind of have the same prompts over and over again, and I'm like, no, we're going to be individual, and we're going to be unique, and we're going to constantly come up with new prompts. You know, there are some where it's basic, there's nothing else to do, but we try to change them up, and we try to make sure we kind of target certain features or certain pieces of the argument, because you know, somebody can hand me something, I'm like, it's too vague, yeah. It's too simple. There's no room to move with it. It's just blah. And we'll work together to figure out something else until I hear it and I'm like, that's what I want. Like that will get what I think will end up on screen. And, that's where I want to go with it. But yeah, Flat Earth, I'm totally over it. Holocaust, I was actually going to host one, or at least we were trying to get me to host one. And if I was going to do it, I would have done it exclusively on Rumble, not YouTube, because it's such a very sensitive topic. YouTube would have shut it down real fast, and I wouldn't risk that. But I would have done a YouTube or Rumble exclusive for it.
I got a question. So I got a pretty good idea of the brand, The Raging Tomato, right? But who is Sara behind the scenes? Like
the mystery. I don't know. I'm pretty simple. I'm pretty easygoing. I'm a busybody. I'm always on the move. There's always moving parts. There's always between me, my kids, my job, and my YouTube. I'm lucky if I sleep anymore. I've completely lost, my sleeping schedule's all stupid too now, because I do the late nights. So then I still have to get up in the morning. Well, thankfully school's out right now, so I can sleep in a nudge longer. But I got to get up. I got to do work. And then by 5 o'clock, I'm like, oh, I have a show tonight. I have to take a nap. So I'll take like a little 30 to 60 minute snoozer. And then I'm up and I'm like, all right, here we go. We got till 3 a.m. Let's do this. So it's and then in between all of that, the kids, I'm doing all of that too. So it's all over the place, but it's organized chaos. I think most people are pretty agreeable that when I reach out to them for debates that I'm very organized and things are aligning and I'm helpful and I get things working. But outside of that, I'm constantly on the go. There's even this weekend, for instance, my kids went to Pops and I was supposed to have the whole weekend to myself, and then everything you could think of that could happen. And I'm like, oh, I have no kids. I have the whole house to myself. I don't have a lot of shows going on. I don't have to work. I'm like, I'm going to get so much stuff done. This is great. And then my dog completely blew her knee out. So I spent an entire evening at the ER. And then now she has to be kind of I have to walk her outside, very particularly so she doesn't blow the other one out too and make it worse. And what else? I forget, everything just happened. And I'm like, it's already Sunday. It is already Sunday. And my day's gone. My whole weekend gone.
So how nice is it though that you can have your dog blow the knee out, go have surgery and get handed the bill and you say, well, I guess I'll have to do one more show this week to get it paid for.
Yeah, I'm grifting my chat for it too. So please continue to grift the griftathon of the dog surgery. I looked up after the doctor told me this, I was like, oh my God, how much is this going to be? And I looked it up. The average for what she needs specifically, especially for a large breed, is like $3,000 to $6,000. And I'm like, dear God, I hope it's on the lower end of that. Please. So we'll find out at her next consultation thing, all of those woodworks and things. But so we're gonna just continue that grift and hope that the chat prevails for me on that one.
See, that's where in the military we have the type of humor that would say, this bullet costs 5 cents.
That face. All right.
But I'm not suggesting that.
Wait a minute. All right.
Hey, chaplains have dark humor. Well, this chaplain has dark humor too, but
so
Sara, I was enlisted for 15 years. So I was military police for 5 years and then military intelligence, the oxymoron of the Army, for 10 years. So I'm not the traditional, when I went into the chaplain school, they were like, we don't even know how to deal with you. They couldn't even get me paid at first. They're like, we're not sure. How did you even get here? You're not even supposed to be here.
What happened?
It was legitimately.
Are you in the wrong door? You need to turn back around. Go the other way. Three doors down. You'd be right.
And then after 2 weeks of me being there, they knew I was in the wrong place. So
You just proved it, right?
Right.
It actually probably was a mistake. You ended up there. Like somebody got the orders wrong and you just followed orders, just beep, ba, ba, ba,
Is
beep,
this
ba,
where I'm
ba,
supposed to
beep.
be? Okay.
And they're like, wait a minute.
Who are you?
I don't know. My order said door 3.
It
Here
just
I
said
am.
me here. I don't know.
I'm told not to question my superiors.
What do you
Oh my
mean I
God.
needed a church endorsement? What does that mean?
I don't even go to church.
Church. No, that's where somebody earlier was like, is this about Mormonism? It is now, buddy.
Oh my God. Wait a minute. Oh,
Okay.
all right.
I'll
Hold
tell you,
on.
that was one thing on that the second was Joseph Smith that I didn't understand. The one guy who's like, well, I prefer Mormon. I don't agree with the church leadership. I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? Like, then go be your own church if you don't agree
Right.
with your church leaders. So you hear some stuff on these debates that just go, you've got to think that too. You've got to be like, wait, what?
I don't
Oh
know.
my
Salmon's odd.
Okay, so here's the funny thing. Salmon says that about being PSYOP. Well, first of all, it's PSYOP, not PSYOPs with an S, because I was in a PSYOP unit for
It's like,
3 years.
come
As-
How do you know I'm not?
Yeah.
Lance?
And you could be, but the only thing PSYOP really does, it's
Don't you
advertising.
find it ever so convenient that I just like worked my way into YouTube and I'm networked so coincidentally to a lot of very big content creators and I can magically bring them all to my screen and get all of their talking points and behind the scenes know it all of everything?
Do you give all your money back to the government, which is required?
No,
It's
they said I
magic.
could keep it.
Oh,
They
well,
actually
then
told
there
me
you
it's
go.
they're
Good
not
for
going to
you.
tax it either.
Oh,
So-
even better. Oh,
So wait a minute. All right. So
Wouldn't
you
that be
reported
the perfect one though?
that
well,
would
but
be-
but to get tax-free, you have to go and drill into an asteroid and not come home.
What?
Oh,
Yeah.
come on. You said you were a child of
Say
the
that again?
90s. I
No,
said, if you want to have your money tax-free, you have to go up and drill into an asteroid and not come home.
Oh, okay. We're talking about
my goodness.
hold on. I'm
Oh.
seeing Aerosmith, right? I have
Yep.
Steve Tyler's so I don't want to close my eyes. That one. I just can't think
Yes.
of the name though.
Armageddon.
Thank you. I was like,
Yeah.
there's an A in there somewhere.
I guess it's
Somebody
bad
find
when
it.
you have to explain the reference. So maybe I didn't. That was
Well,
my
my
bad.
ears just weren't
Oh,
picking up as fast as you were saying it. And I was like,
sorry.
hold up. I
I
do that a
need
lot
to
though.
speak
Yes,
more
right.
clearly with better elocution.
So I know you kind of reference yourself kind of like a referee of adults with Wi-Fi, right? So, but has there ever been a moment during the debate where you're like, all right, wait a minute. Yes, it's like that's the way I understand it, right? It's like, all right,
referee of adults with Wi-Fi.
that's the way I'm understanding it. Like, all right, cool.
Somebody
I
write that down and send it to me. I'll pretend.
I just
I've
want to know,
heard
like,
it explained so many ways, but that one was the best.
I'm
Sorry, I keep
saying
interrupting
that's
you.
just what it seems like to me. But like, have you ever had a moment where you're like, holy shit, like we're actually making a difference? You know what I'm saying? Like
No,
this
not
is
at all.
like this, not at
No,
all. It's
no,
just
no.
it's all been entertainment.
Nope. This is, I mean, and most content creators will start off by saying like that they're here to entertain and have some fun, right? And not every panelist is a full-time debater or anything like that. Most of them just have fun channels that they like to have conversations on, so something just like this. And here we see Lance coming in and doing exactly that. You know, he's not a full-time debater. Actually, that was his first debate, and he came on because of whatever reason he decided he wanted to come on for. So essentially, like, it is not my job to change the world, and that's how I look at it. So who the panelists, like, whatever their intentions are for being there, that is theirs, and whatever they want to do with that, I'm here to just offer you a platform to do whatever it is, whether you're here to have fun, make money, spread a good message, change the world, whatever the case may be. That is yours. Me, I am just here to bring you all to the same table, let you yell at each other, and as you said, referee a bunch of adults with Wi-Fi. So, and I stand on that. And I think that that's where my neutrality kind of kicks into full gear, because I don't have that intention. I'm not trying to. I don't have an agenda, right? And I just kind of don't care. I'm not here to persuade the world. I don't care what you guys do with your lives. Society's going to do what it does, as it always has, whether it's good, bad, ugly. We go into World War III. It's going to do it. There's nothing that I can do to change it or stop it or whatever. Not little old me. But if you want to come on and try to change it, more power to you. I'm just going to be here sitting cute and putting on lip gloss.
I love it.
My agenda is very simple.
I love it. Yeah.
What if you could pick a topic and have two people that are skilled at debate? What would your topic? What would you say? This is what I'd really like to have, even just for entertainment purposes, but for whatever reason. What would you like to have? Is there a topic that you could say, you know what? This I would love just for two really skilled people to go at it, or even unskilled. Maybe that's more interesting, like karaoke.
Morality and ethics are like my bread and butter. That was my favorite thing in school. My whole entire education was set off into that direction. So it kind of hits me in the feels when we get a morality debate and they really start digging into the roots of it. So anything with morality, if I can get top two contenders, and even if they make it entertaining, that's fine too. But those are my favorites. When somebody comes to me and says, I have a morality debate of some sort, here's the prompt. And I'm like, oh, yes, let's do it. So yeah.
That's funny because we have
I learned from the most.
Well, we have ethics chaplains who are ethics, put in as the ethics specialist. And every time I would try to ask him a question about ethics, do you think this is ethical? His response would be, well, do you think it's ethical? So I could just see two ethicists going back and forth, just repeating, well, what do you think? No, what do you think? Well, I'm not sure. What do you think? And like an hour of just, well, what do you think? No, what do you think?
That's fair. I'm going to tinkle. I'll be right back. You can entertain each other, I'm sure. I
am. Well, we can go ahead and use this time to take our break. So all you guys that are following us on Roku, all the fans, we'll see you guys next week. Our 1 hour limit is coming up. We're going to go ahead and cut it early for you guys, and then we will be back.
But if you're watching right now, there's no change for you. Just stay on. You don't need to do anything.
We're just hanging, man. I am having a blast, yo. I'm learning so much.
Nietzscheans aren't really that deep. The answer to the modernity crisis is x equals 2 plus x divided by 2. Okay. I didn't think we were going to be doing algebra today.
That's interesting. So you think, Salmon Fish, you think it's just a superior complexity management system? Tell me a little bit more about that, man. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that. That's I don't know. I don't know if it's really that simple.
Well, what more is he going to do? He's just going to be typing it out like, oh yeah, well, here you go, KJ. This is where if you guys want to follow us in the future, maybe this is when we should be saying, hey, if you found this interesting, please like us and follow us. I mean, we do a lot of stuff, and Salmon Fish did answer actually. If you want to follow us, we do this every Sunday night. Sometimes we have guests, sometimes we don't. We talk a lot of politics. The two POGs Save the World. We kind of just think that talking through things is generally pretty interesting and fun. We don't really do a lot of debate necessarily. Every once in a while, KJ will use the F word to describe. No, F word for us is fascist, because he will. Yes, he will try to argue this policy or that policy is fascist, and I'll say, show me in Germany where that happened. And he won't be able to, and then I'll say, well, then let's find a different word for it. So
I stand 10 toes down on what I'm telling you, and whether you refuse to admit it or not, brother, we are there. We are there.
We'll see.
Ride the wave, man, and enjoy the burn.
Well, if you ever want to debate that, I'm sure I could partner you up with someone very easily.
Oh, that might be
Oh.
interesting. Are we truly in the beginnings of fascism? KJ and a partner on one side, and me and no, we aren't on the other. That actually might be interesting.
Yeah, I've got a lot of Trump supporters who would happily take that on.
I'm sure they would.
So the funny thing about that with the Trump supporter thing for me is that I actually left the Republican Party in 2016 when Trump was nominated.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I have people go, well, then you should vote for Biden or Harris, I'm like, I'm a conservative libertarian. Why in the world would I vote for a Democrat? I'm absolutely the lesser of two evils. So if it's Trump, great, but I'm not going to vote for Harris or the corpse named Biden.
Corpse.
Yeah. It's
Have you seen him recently? Have you seen him walk? He is Weekend at Bernie's personified.
Oh no, maybe it is. Maybe Weekend at Biden's. We can change it up.
There you go, Weekend at Biden's.
Wouldn't that be the best parody ever? I need
hilarious.
to call Saturday Night Live. We need to do this.
Saturday Night Live won't do it. They're a bunch of hacks.
They need to do it. It would be funny. It would be good. Weekend at Biden's. And have like a, like the Democrat Party behind him, holding up like a puppet, walking him around.
See, the thing I don't know. I don't know.
Great.
I don't know if I'd make a good debater because I don't care, right? Like I don't really care for the blue team, but I definitely don't care for the red team. So it's kind of like,
well, but that's why you deep dive into the prompt and you make your prompt specific. So if we want to pull that out on the fascism concept, like we would direct. I've had Trump supporters versus Trump supporters before. That was a wild debate.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, that was Misfit Patriot, Sean. No, that was left versus right. No, I know I've had them where it's kind of like two right wingers and two other right wingers, but they're debating like a piece of it. Even Andrew Wilson and Misfit Patriot are both Trump supporters, and they still got into an argument, like a full-on debate. Two of them, by the way. So yeah, it's possible. It's very possible you could stand in the same side, but still debate a piece of it.
I got you.
So Fatty, nobody said that fascism. You're arguing something that was not said. I've learned this. You're arguing something that was not said because neither of us said fascism started in Germany, nor did we say Mussolini was German. We know he was Italian. That's okay. But
Are you sure? Are you sure?
Oh yeah. So we do know certain things, but you're making an argument that wasn't made. So
see, that's why the chat gets fun, because they like to argue back, and they like to mishear everything.
Yeah,
I love it. So, question for you: so you built this whole world on where chaos meets control, right? So, what is it that people still misunderstand about the role of a moderator and the role of what you bring to the table?
That sometimes when because I intervene very randomly, but not a lot, right? There's a whole backstage conversation with anybody who comes on to debate of this is how I operate, and this is what I will do, and this is what I won't do. But the chat and the viewers sometimes think my interruptions are like, oh, you didn't let them answer the question. Oh, you should have held them to it. Oh, they were just, avoiding this or that, and you stopped it. And I'm like, yes, but I also read people. Yeah. Right. And you want to avoid rage quits are great because it's like, oh, the clickability. But to me, it doesn't serve anybody a purpose because number one, that person's not coming back. Right. So that's a disservice to me. But number two, we're not going to make it through. And like, there goes the show if somebody just gets up and leaves because they're too upset or irritated at the conversation. So my job is, I people the people. So I'm paying attention to not only body language, but how they're talking, the way they're talking, their like mannerisms and things like that. These are things I'm paying attention to. And I'm also paying attention to the argument and how it's being thrown around in which direction and the insults and so on and so forth, and watching how people react to them. So sometimes I interrupt simply to give somebody a breather, right? Because I'm like, they're going to leave here in a minute if we don't stop. Right? Like they're out the door. So sometimes I like to interrupt and maybe redirect the conversation like, hey, I noticed we were talking about these points earlier and I'd like to this one's kind of not going anywhere. Like let's redirect it. Because I still value having a show and having panelists who are willing to come back. So I still have to tread not lightly, but particularly on how and knowing how people engage. Like there are my strong debaters where you can literally call them anything under the sun and they're like, yeah, so what you got? But then there are other debaters, like I said before, they'll whine and cry about every single thing. And everything's a complaint and they're always a victim and everything. So being mindful of how I pair them up in the future or how they engage with other creators on screen or how they, how they will end up perceiving the debate later. Like, was the mod on my side? Did the mod help, or was the mod too far leaning this way or helping the other, or not stopping things when they should have? So there is a balancing act to that, but you can't overdo it either. You have to be, because sometimes you just got to let them take the insult. You got to take the knock on the chin, but I'm not going to let them get plummeted either.
So wait, have you ever had a guest where you was just like, I could save you, but no, you had this coming for a while, so I'm gonna sit back and let you rock?
Usually the ones that are just kind of have their nose in the air on it, like they think their shit don't stink and they're like, no, this is the best argument, I swear, and I'm just like, I'm gonna let you fry because you stepped in that one and you stepped in it hard. So I mean, I can't save everyone, but I certainly don't try to either. And it comes down to the person and how they interact and engage and things like that. And do I care to have them back? There are some where I'm like, if they never come back, I'll be all right. Like, I'm not losing anything.
Well, so you control that. So I mean, like if you have somebody that says, hey, I'd like to come on, do you give them a strike too, or you're like, yeah, once was enough. I don't really need you back on again?
I feel like the ones who I prefer to not have on have typically, like, they know it by the time they leave. You know what I mean? Like they know it. So they typically don't reach. It's not a long list. I could probably count on one hand. There have been a few I've had to talk to afterwards, and I'm like, hey, this kind of behavior, we need to X, Y, and Z, because we're not going to do this. But there's also ways of talking to people and knowing who I'm talking to and how to talk to them. That's where that, like, it's HR-ish, I can human resource my way through a conversation to make them still feel good by the end of it. But I think the most of them.
But you're still fired.
You're still fucking fired, okay? But,
so wait, all right.
I mean,
wait.
Well, we just invited the police officer just for everybody's safety.
It's not because we think you're going to throw a table or anything.
I got fired, not fired. Yeah, I guess I was fired from a job. It was a weird one, and they brought this police officer in, and they said, "Yeah, you're no longer, your services aren't required." I was like, "Okay." I'm like, "Why did you guys think like I was gonna like do something?" And I think it was because I had just finished basic training in AIT and all that stuff. They were like, "Oh, now he's trained in the military." I'm like, "You guys, okay, guys, give me the check.
Oh,
I'll
wait.
get out."
They don't always bring the
You're
police
like
officer to
so
escort you out of
nice
the building?
too.
They don't always bring the police officer to escort you out of the building when you get fired? I thought that was standard.
Well, KJ, for white people, it's actually very rare.
God, man.
So for us, it doesn't happen very often.
My God, man. This is when we. You're supposed to be on your best behavior, man.
KJ, you're going to cut that. We both know you're going to cut that into a TikTok. You're going to do that.
Oh, my God. Sara, rage quitting. What is your most memorable rage quits? What are some of the most fun rage quits?
I'll say this one was memorable because I was watching it just burn. Like the whole house was burning. It was Team Fatty and I Killed Earl, and he was making more personal attacks, not necessarily at her personal life, but he was asking her like, well, when you do this, do you do that? And she was openly answering. So I can't really stop that, right? I usually cut personal attacks, but if you openly answer and you allow it on the table, I'm like, I can't touch that. You brought it to the table. And she could have very easily said, like, I don't need to answer that. But he was digging and digging and digging, and I was watching her just get more and more worked up and to the point where she's like, I'm out. I can't. I don't even think it lasted 40 minutes. I'm pretty sure we didn't make it very far through, and it just got to the point where I was like, okay, well, I guess we'll open the panel. I don't know what to do, and I felt bad because some people just aren't built for the personal attacks, the attacks, regardless, or they're just not, I would say, thick-skinned enough to handle that kind of stress and pressure. Me,
Yeah.
I've been called. I bartended for a long time, so I'm like,
Yeah.
if you're gonna
Real world
insult
training.
me, yeah, if you're gonna insult me, you better be creative when you do this because I've already heard it.
Like, I need some good stuff. Don't
Yeah,
hit me with regular.
exactly. And if you can be creative enough that I laugh at it, job well done, friend. But even in the chats, if I show up on somebody's panel or, even in my own chat, like there's people that come in like, you're just a stupid single mom. And I'm like, can you find something new? That'd be nice. Like, I mean, I'm like, oh man, I never heard that before. So, but watching her, like, I mean, it was just watching the flames just burn around her. I'm like, she's gonna go, she's gonna go. And I tried really hard to redirect. I tried to bring it back to other things that were not her personal life. And and he just kept going in and he went for the jugular and she was done. And I'm like, ugh.
And she opened up the neck for it. Like
Yeah,
right here.
she's just like, right here, please, right here.
Oh my God.
It was bad. It was really I don't know. It was just really heartbreaking to watch it go down because I'm like, I don't know if she'll recover from this one. You know, she was really nice. It's not like she did a throwdown Thursday prior to that. We were able to really get through a lot of good talking points, but the one-on-one and the fact that he just went in for the kill, and I was like, okay.
He just had to have it.
Mm-hmm. It'd be like that sometimes.
I dig it. So I guess have you ever had a guest where you kind of had the I guess the idea going in that, oh man, this dude's gonna get slaughtered, and then they just come in and completely change your mind?
I've seen debates where I think that a certain side is going to have the upper hand with the talking points.
Mm-hmm.
If they actually would do the talking points, I'm like, oh, this is an easy debate. Like, I know where this is going to go. And then they fail to fire back the proper talking points and like run the right line of logic. And I'm like, oh, you're going the wrong way. You're going the wrong. Stop it. And, and it's a very obvious win for the other side when I've seen that particular like side of the topic always kind of per se like lose the debate.
Yeah.
As we like to say, I never say anybody wins or loses necessarily. The chat always wins, but when they just can't get through the talking points, and that I consider that a loss. And I've seen one side of that topic just always consistently run into walls. And then one time it came in and it just, the other side didn't have the right points. And I was like, you're getting smoked. I've never seen it go this way.
Whoa.
Oh, so I mean, it happens every once in a while where it flips over because somebody they don't run the right line of logic and they get too tied up in, I think they like think too hard, if that's a thing. Like they overthink their arguments and they presume arguments that the other team hasn't already made.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I didn't say that. Oh, well, wouldn't, well, I didn't say that. So now what?
How excited are you as a moderator? Like, have you ever gotten to a point where you're like, man, I just want to send you a lifeline. Let me try to type you a note to save you because you're gonna die.
Yeah. I mean, I presume everybody does their homework, like I safely presume it. I also presume everybody at least watches a couple of my shows before they show up for the first time after I've invited them. And, I'm thinking like, and we'll get backstage and I'm like, have you watched any of the shows? Do you understand the format? And they're like, no, I haven't watched anything yet. And I'm like, all right, this is gonna either hurt or you're gonna do just fine. I don't know. We'll see. But I'll hear certain phrases come out, and I'm very facially expressive, right? Most my audience knows. They're like, "Oh shit, Sara just saw that." Oh, I'm like, "Oh no, don't! Why'd you say that?" Because I already know what's gonna come back. Like, there's the wall. You just hit it. And it's about to go down, and I can see the other person, like the other panelists, like the look on their face, like they're like, "Here we go, it's gonna be a good one. Here we go," and I'm like, "No, their death." Like there went the argument. Like everything's gone now. You're not gonna get anywhere with this conversation because you just sunk your own ship. So I mean, yeah, there's moments, but I mean, overall, people typically will surprise me with new stuff, and I like it. Like we run a lot of similar topics. But that's another reason why I like changing the prompt and redirecting the focus because, you learn something new. And that's what I like the most is learning the new talking points and different directions people can go with it.
This is, do you mind debaters using props to get a point across? That's interesting.
Well, this is coming from only Mr. Bill, who likes to when he's on panel, he comes on our open panels and he has a boxing bag behind him that while everybody's sitting here having a conversation, he'll get up and just go randomly start, boxing. And I booted him off one night. I'm like, Mr. Bill, like we don't have time for this. Like if you want to, you either go boxing or you come on panel, pick one. But as far as like, I've had people use PowerPoints to show things. Yeah. I don't mind them, but it does sometimes slow down the flow of an opening statement because then everybody goes onto the side screen and then the big screens is PowerPoint. And it just kind of, to me at least, it kind of moves the flow in the wrong direction because everybody knows death by PowerPoint. That's the military 101, right? You're not sitting through an HR. You're not sitting through college. You're not like, this is a debate and like an entertainment debate. So like, if you can't express it verbally, then maybe we're not in the right spot for you. You know what I mean? There's other debate platforms where they gladly host PowerPoints all day.
TED Talks are a good place for slides. That too.
That's way too formative, man. I'm just trying to dance. I'm trying to have a good time.
Exactly. And the best way the channel was summed up was by Jim Bob actually said this. He's like, you like, it's like you're sitting in a bar, right? And the music's loud and everybody's yelling and you're actually trying to have this argument with this person. You're getting louder and louder. And there's like people, beating the crap out of each other. It's like a brawl at the bar. And that is what my channel was described as. And I'm like, God, I love that. It's beautiful. But it's like watching Roadhouse.
Yep.
So now we need to mix those metaphors. Now let's see, the two people playing chess with you in the middle, trying to see who's playing the chess in the bar while the bar fights are going off left and right.
I'm the bartender. I'm the bartender that keeps serving the drinks to get them drunker so they get crazier.
She's like, turn it up.
Yeah. I tell the DJ. I don't know if you notice, like during my open panels, the music gets louder, things start moving, and it gets a little more. There's a lot of built-in things that I do behind the scenes that people have no idea, but it's like it's strictly to promote pure chaos, and I love it.
That is awesome. That is awesome, man.
I didn't notice that. I'm gonna have to pay attention to that now.
I'm a master of chaos. It works very, very well.
You are the chaos composer, and I am digging it. I am definitely digging it. Land, you got the last one, brother. It's 10 minutes out. This is your 10-minute warning.
10-minute warning. I don't know, man. I am probably going to double down then on what I've said to Sara privately, and I said at the end of our debate. Sara is, I think, honestly, one of the most genuine people I've dealt with online. When she reached out to me and said, hey, the person that Andrew was going to debate dropped out. Do you want in? I was like, yeah, sure. Not really knowing. And so I had a lot of questions like, how do I, how does this work? What do we do? Da, 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 da. And she responded I think the longest time I had to wait was a couple hours, but then I noticed she was online doing something else at debate. I was like, oh, she's busy. So there's a reason she's not checking her instant messages right now. Got it. But even since then, I've just shot Sara a few here and there, just kind of thoughts or ideas or questions. And when I reached out and said, hey, Sara, would you be willing to come on to our crappy little podcast? She was like, yeah, I'd love to. And I was like, that is so awesome. I think that is so cool. Because I'm very much of the opinion, the answer to every question you don't ask is no. Mm-hmm. And so Sara, you coming on and giving us the time, you said, hey, I don't have anything going on Sunday. So this is a Sunday night. You could have said, you know what? I'm not going to go in. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to take the night for myself and my kids and recharge. And instead you were willing to come and spend, an hour and a half with us, which is double, honestly, what we kind of expected.
I figured it was going to be like 3 hours. I pinned the time in. I was like, I'm going to be here. We're good. We're good.
So, well, we have done that before. We have just let it go, and we'll look up and go, oh my gosh, dude, we've been talking for like 4 hours. We're a bunch of idiots. So
that's how you know it's a good conversation, though. See, and they're shutting this one down early. You see that? I'm boring.
It comes in. All right.
So, and I said to Sara, like at any point, I need to get back in, and I need to be able to. I should jump in on some of these later ones. They're just so late.
I know.
And then
you know
some
why
of them,
they're late though? Is when my kids go to bed.
Yeah. No, I figured
that's why I started that time. I sat and I thought about like what times should I start doing these, and I'm like, well, I got it. Like the kids are in bed by 9:15. All right, and that gives me time to tuck in and give kisses and say goodnight. And everybody hates how late it is, but I'm like, it's all I've got. It's all I've got.
Well, and no, we haven't got into really any of the personal or thing, but like I've got 4. My oldest is 22 and my youngest is 11. So there are times where I go, man, I really miss when they were 3 and 4 years old and I had to go tuck them in. And
I don't.
I said there are times, not all the time.
Lies. Don't put that kind of crap out there. Right now.
There are times when you guys wait. You just wait. There will be times.
PTSD started triggering like, nah, I'm telling you.
You will look back after you're out of the battle and go, you know what? Those were some pretty good times. Now, it also depends on the kids because certain kids at 3 go, okay, I'm ready for bed. I'm tired. One of our kids was like that. The other 3 were like, no, I am full on FOMO. I am not missing out. I am staying up. You cannot put me to bed. And it doesn't matter. My youngest is like that right now. It's like, I said to my wife, like, is it okay I know we're at school, but is it okay for her to be going to bed at 1 a.m.? She's like, she's always been my night owl. I'm like, yeah, but it's fine. It's 1 a.m. She's 11 years old. I think she should be going to bed.
Yeah, but, I remember being up that late as a kid too. Like in the summertime, I don't even know when we slept at that point. I've always been a night owl anyways. Actually, even through college, my best papers always at night, and I could just sit at it could be due the next day, and I'm just like, oh, I'll wait till midnight and be all right. Done. Ching. Don't even have to review it. Don't read it. Submit A++. I'm a happy camper. That nighttime's the best thinking I'll ever do. ever.
Well, that's also helpful to be a writer, because that's how I am too. Like I can just sit down, somebody would be like, hey, I need it's a 8-page paper, and I'll sit down and do it in 30 minutes, 45 minutes. And I have friends like, I'm done with 1 page. How far are you done? I'm like, I'm done. How long are we waiting here? Yeah. They're like, what do you mean you're done? It's like, dude, it was an 8-page paper. How hard was it?
Writing was always my strength. I will, like, 110%. I could get really nervous with talking. I actually am really shy. I know you have no idea about that, but I'm always incredibly super shy. I'm afraid to yell at people. I don't like yelling at people. I don't like being mean. I'm very like, okay, I'm just going to stand back here and watch everything happen. I'm okay. You enjoy your limelight. I'll be back here. And yeah, but if you said, Sara, give me a persuasive paper on why that feminism's bad or something, I could be like, I got you. Like the whole world comes to life for me. But if you ask me to spit it out verbally, I'd be like, well, I don't know, it's bad. Or yeah,
Fatty, we're all old enough. We couldn't use AI to kick it out in 45 seconds. We actually had to do this thing called research. Not just research, we'd have to go to the library. This building
it out of the
that had these things called books.
It kicked in like a sleeper agent, thinking about the Dewey Decimal System and having to run through those libraries and make sure everything's not out of order. Oh my God.
That's stressful. Very stressful. I mean, thankfully, because my degree is in law, so it's all case law. You have it's the whole like Shepard's citation, and it's a whole nother ball game. But if you think of it like you would think of I don't know, like a keyword search, like tagging words. If you think of it that way, it all clicks. But yeah.
Okay, so Sara, because you said that, how often do people say this? Because you have a degree in law, right? You just said. Mm-hmm. Well, you need to be educated. You just need to educate yourself. Because, like, for me, I've got 2 master's degrees. Mm-hmm. I'm educated.
That's my favorite line.
It's like, just because, and the other part of that is, just because I have 2 degrees, I've known doctors who are complete morons.
Yes.
So it's not about education. It's about, if you disagree with me, that's fine. But when you just say educate yourself, and then you say, I got her, it's like that.
Yeah, I love how people my favorite is when they assume, she's a girl, she's dumb, she's ditzy, she's dingy, she's a blonde, and I don't like to show a lot of intelligence very often. I'd much prefer they just all think I'm dumb. It's so much easier. Life is better that way. So when somebody's like, I don't know, I like to ask a lot of questions, whether I know the answers to them or not. I like to ask, and it's just keeps you in a space where they don't think you're going to be smart. So they keep their expectations low for the conversation or for whatever with you, or and it's just easier that way. And then when they find out other things, they're like, oh, really? And I'm like,
Well, actually, SCOTUS said,
I'm just dumb. It's okay. I'll take it. I prefer it that way. It's much easier. Significantly. Yeah, rarely. Because I'm not smart, guys, at all. At all.
I can't get.
So you like playing the blonde bimbo role until
not the blonde bimbo. I'll take the dumb blonde happily. But it's not playing a role necessarily. It's just it's easier to let other people believe they're the smartest person in the room, because then they show things a lot faster, like they show their stupidity much quicker by trying to pretend to be the smartest person in the room. Right. And it's just a secret I keep with myself. Like, I know you're really stupid. It's okay. But just go ahead. Keep on. Whatever.
I suddenly feel very attacked.
Don't worry. Don't worry. Oh, I love hugs.
Okay, bedtime.
You got a master's
well.
degree in cultural arts and religious economics. Fatty says they don't count. Fatty says
Close.
Yeah.
Actually, really close. I have a master's degree in family and marriage and divinity, specializing in ministerial leadership. So my MDiv, my ministerial degree is basically like I have a degree for thinking. It's like a philosophy degree. It does no good at all except to get into my job as a chaplain. It's the only reason I got it was because I wanted to become a chaplain to help soldiers, and I needed that degree. So it's the only reason I got it.
That's fair. That's fair. I loved school. I was gonna do the PhD, but then by the time I finished the master's, I was like kind of tired. And when I looked at the level of like salary and job variations and all of those things and what I wanted to do, the PhD was worth nothing. And I'm like, why am I going to put in 2 more years, write a whole dissertation and do all of this stuff when like it would be nice because then you can call me Dr. Sara. But outside of that, I was like, I'm just tired.
Yeah.
Do you remember after you finish your degree though, and then like the next week, you're like, something's wrong.
No, not at all.
I don't
No,
have a
not at all.
paper due. For
Nope,
me, it was,
not
I
at all.
don't have a paper due.
Nope, not at all. And I think, did I finish? I think I finished in the summertime. So it was like, it was done. You know what I mean? And there wasn't like that finish line, graduation thing or anything. I forget what it was, but it was just like, I was bored by the time I hit the MA. Like I was already bored. It's like, okay, wash, rinse, repeat kind of thing. Do your research, like, come up with a thesis, do your research and write a paper. Like it's wash, rinse, repeat. And I'm like, I know how to write a paper. I get it. I understood this freshman year. I know what I'm doing. Can we stop with this stuff now? Now there were other, like my bioethics class was my most favorite of them all, which was like pure debate over like if you take the head off of one man and you put it on top of the body of another man, who is the person? Is it this person or that person? And what does this belong to? And who has the rights and all these crazy things. But like outside of that, the majority of the classes were just theory or thesis, research, right? And I was so bored. My master's, I just kind of flew through it. It got to the point where I wasn't even taking the wrapper off the books because I was like, I learned like, don't open that book until you have to. And I would get through a whole semester and have like 3 full books with nothing. They're still sealed. So, yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like my master's for both of them. So I kind of not cheated, but I worked the system to get 2 masters without doing any extra work at all. But I can tell you like one professor's name for my entire collegiate career. I can tell you one guy's name and that's it. And it's like, just,
I don't even know if I could do that at this point.
Yeah. So
I double dipped during my bachelor's. You had to keep up a certain GPA and you had to qualify, but I double dipped classes that would count for both the BA and the MA. And it made it significantly easier because it started to speed my time up by that point. And I was like, give me everything I can, please. I had to like request special permission to be able to take like more than so many classes or in the summer or this or that and yada yada. And I was like, just want to get it done. I'm just done.
So after it was all done, did you pass the bar?
No. So the legal direction I went would be what you would call pre-law. So law school is one thing, right? But having an MA in like in the legal field in any of that, like jurisprudence and then legal and ethical studies would be my MA. Jurisprudence would be my BA. So if you want to be like a super smart lawyer, you would do the MA and then go to law school. And there's 2 different paths you can go. You can go, I want to be a lawyer path, in the MA direction, and that leads you right into law school. Or you can do mine, where it's the understanding of law applicability, your lobbyists, your legislators, people that are geopolitics, things like that, the government, public policy. That would be the direction that I took, because I didn't want to be a lawyer, even though my dad kept telling me when I was very, very young, please be a lawyer. You argue like it's your job. But I chose the other route because I was like, it's not calling my name, although I love to argue. But
Yeah, but even trial lawyers, it's not really debate. It's just about who can come off with the most minutiae points made in the law.
I knew a lot of lawyers, and I've seen a lot of them, and I even worked for a lawyer at one point. And really, the bulk of being a lawyer is paperwork, and
Yeah.
no, I don't want to do that. I didn't want to do that. I mean, obviously, you would have paralegals doing a lot of stuff, but a lot of the going to trial is usually last case scenario, and it's definitely not as often as people believe. You're doing more things outside of court, settlement. And not only that, I always sat and thought because people would say, if you became a lawyer and you were representing a criminal and you knew they were guilty, could you proceed on? And like ethically, I couldn't. There are some things where I'm like, yeah, that's not my problem. But that is like, I don't, yeah, they deserve that right and they deserve that trial. But, if I know there's missing bits of information and that information isn't, but I know that they did it, but how I know they did it isn't presented, I wouldn't be able to sleep. And I wasn't going to do that to myself to ever be put in that position.
Yeah, there's a big difference between watching Law and Order and watching the court channel.
Yes. Yes. And like divorce law, contract law probably would have been my forte if I wanted to go that direction, because I'm very nitty gritty, fine detail type of person. I'm that asshole that reads, something, and I'm like, well, technically I don't have to because it says it right here. And then people are like, what? How would you know that? And that's like, I'm the loophole person. I find loopholes. That's where I thrive. Technically, I don't have to, and here's why. So I hold my way out of like bits of high school. I think it was my senior year. I figured out that they have what's called Saturday school. And if you go to one Saturday school, which is like 4 hours, it counts for up to 4 absences. So I'm like 4 hours, 4 days. And I was only a part-time student by that point. And so I was like, so you mean to tell me I can show up on Friday for a full day and Saturday for 4 hours, and that counts? I did this all the time. I just never went to school. It got to a point where by January, I believe it was, one of my teachers was like, Sarah, you're still here. I thought you graduated. I didn't know you were still here. It was that bad. But I found a loophole, and I'm like, this is beautiful. I like this.
That sounds like something I would have done if they'd offered it, and because mine would have been with homework. So I was that kid that I took, advanced math as a sophomore, and I had a 65 for the year because 66% of your grade was tests and 33% was homework, right? And of course the 0.6 and all that. And so I turned in 2 homework assignments the entire year and got a 65 for the year. So I'm like, I can come in, watch what you do, replicate it on a test, ace your test. So why am I doing homework? So I got really bad grades because of it. So I wish I'd had your loophole.
Yeah. And I found it by accident. I think I had just missed too many days, and it's a punishment to go to Saturday school.
Yeah.
But in Saturday school, all they did was watch movies. So the first one I went to, I was pissed off, obviously, because I'm like, I had to miss because I'm like, I was working or this or that. I was a very busy teenager. I think I worked 3 jobs at that point. But I was like, man, like, why are you punishing me for not, like, my work was done. My teachers weren't complaining. There was no issue. It was just, you missed too many days to go to Saturday school. So I went to this 4 hours and I sat there and I've been like, are we watching fucking
Wait a minute.
movies? And I'm sitting here for 4 hours. And that covers 4 days. I'm like, I'm gonna do this every week. fine, watch me. You just sunk yourselves. And I did. I would make sure I'd go in every Friday because one of my classes had a quiz or a test every Friday. And that was important. The homework didn't matter. So that worked out well. But every Friday they had a quiz. Well, you could have all of your notes during that quiz. So during Saturday school, I'd sit and literally copy that chapter onto a piece of paper because you could have as many pieces of paper as you wanted. You could write anything you wanted. I'm like, I'm going to just copy the book word for word. So when it got to the test, and by that point, you've already read everything. You've studied it because you've written it down. But I get to the quiz. I'm like, I literally have the chapter right here. And then the big test at the end of the semester or whatever was, you bring any of those notes that you want. And I had the whole book. So I'm like, this is great. I showed up on Fridays, and then I'd get all my work from my teachers, and I do it all on Saturdays. And then I come back next Friday again.
No, that's cool. I think that, the kids now, they don't understand the value, not only of studying, because they look at it and they go, well, I can do everything with this, with their cell phones, which is great. But then they don't take the time to actually learn anything.
Right.
And if you don't take the time to actually try to learn it, we've seen a couple of people in the chat talk about AI. It's like, great. Yeah, you can go in. I'm trying to, after the military, go and be a teacher. And like, I don't even care if you have an assignment that you do by AI, but you better know what the assignments, what you wrote. So at least read it, because then if it's
I think AI is dangerous to use for doing work like that. Yeah, I think you can use it as a cheat code later after you've already learned how to learn, right? But
Agreed.
Using that as a tool to write a paper because you're 14 and don't feel like doing your homework, you're doing yourself a disservice, and you're just failing yourself in life later. I'm happy to do the hard work, but if I can be a smarter, not harder type of person, that means I did the brain work to figure out how to loophole that and be smarter and not like spend extra time where I didn't need to. So,
well, I think what I mean by using AI. So if I, let's say, assign a paper on Joan of Arc, and they go in and they're like, well, I'm not going to read the book. And you say, okay, AI, give me 3 pages of Joan of Arc. That's 3 pages of Joan of Arc. If they read it, they're going to know more about her than they would otherwise. There's so many, especially with history people, the kids go, oh, I don't care about history at all. It's like, well, you guys, history is important for a reason. Otherwise, people are going to accuse you that when you said Germany is fascist, they're going to turn around and say, oh, but Mussolini wasn't from Germany. So,
yeah,
so
I don't know. I think I enjoyed. I love learning. That was like a big thing of mine. But once I'm like tapped out and I'm like, this is boring me now. I need more. Like, I don't know if you remember, what is it, Short Circuit? And he's like, I need more input. That's me all the time.
Yeah.
I need more input constantly. And if what I'm doing is not actually harnessing more information, then I'm through with it. It's just not, it's not enticing to me. So I don't know how these kids can AI generate, full papers and not care about, what they're doing. And like, it drives me nuts. But I have many other things about kids that bothers me these days.
Right. That's why we need to do that. Find somebody who wants to debate that kids today are somehow smarter than Generation X. Because
I kind of think they're all dumb sometimes.
well, they're not. They're definitely not. To me, they're not as good critical thinkers. Their critical thinking skills are lacking. And they rely so much on their phones that they data dump to an excessive degree, where you and I, when we learned something, we would still retain some of it. I think where kids now, they go, well, I'll read it and this is what it says. And then after I've read it, it doesn't even matter anymore. And that's what's tough. So how do you teach your kids? Because you've got 2 younger ones. We're not going to go into ages. I assume they're young enough.
Mine aren't that young. Mine are 16 and 10. So,
and they're going to bed at 9, Or is this during the school year?
During the school year, 9
Oh.
o'clock is like my shutdown time, right?
Okay.
So that's when everybody's already done what they need to do. And I'm like, well, my youngest, yeah, I tuck him in by 9, but my eldest, it's at least she knows 9 o'clock, like that's you are in your room and like that's your wind down time. We're not up moving, getting crazy, you know, whatever, being on the phone all night or anything like that. Like 9 o'clock is kind of like my cutoff for the world.
So have you found a way that works for you? And if you want to share how you impart that to your kids, that being in school and learning these things actually has value, even if you think it's dumb.
I would say, like, I think you could teach that with the way you teach your kids, right? So me, although my kids hate me for it, I elaborate why we're doing what we're doing, right? I mean, there are times where I respond with because I said so, right? But in order to give them critical thinking skills, you have to teach them how to be taught or how to learn or how to figure this out. So if I sit down and explain, for instance, my daughter, terrible with timing, right? Knowing that we have, you know, a game to get to for her or this appointment, or we have to, you know, it's 45 minutes away, the blah, 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 like all of these different things, because we're logistically, we are always on the go. And having to explain, like sit down and explain to her one day, because she didn't understand why being 5 minutes behind, 10 minutes behind was that big of a deal. And I had to explain, this is our first point of destination. It takes X amount of time to get there. When we get there, it's going to take about 15 minutes to do X, Y, and Z. After we leave there, it'll then take 20 minutes to get to our next destination. At that point, we have like 30 minutes of doing X, Y, and Z, blah, 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 blah. You know, then we have to account for error. We have to account for traffic. You got to tie your shoe. Somebody got in an accident. We need gas, you know, things like that. You always have to calculate in, you know, whatever the case may be. And then like our end goal is to hopefully be home by this time so that we can make dinner or do this, or your brother has to do that, whatever the case may be. Right. So actually sitting down and explaining to her, like, when you are late, when I say we leave this house at, you know, 3:30 p.m., there's a reason why. And that why is very calculated in to ensure we're back at a reasonable hour, because maybe the dogs have to be fed or this or that. You like all of these specific things. So when I actually sat and gave her, I mean, it seems exhaustive, right, to sit and actually explain that to a teenager. But ever since then, now when she does logistics for, I'm going to go to a friend's house, can you drop me off at a friend's house? Can we do this after that? Can we do this after that? She'll actually sit and she'll run through kind of like the scenario of, okay, mom, I want to go to such and such's house, but I also know you have to go over here at this time to do this. During that time, such and such's house is on the way to this thing. Can you drop me off and blah, blah, blah. Like she started figuring it out for herself. So now I don't have to do the math. Right. And now when she comes to me with a solution instead of a question or a demand.
Yeah, backwards planning in the military. We do that a
Mhm.
lot too. The thing that frustrates me with my kids is when they say, well, why do we have to do this? I say, well, we're doing this because A, B, and C. Like I've been making them read, or trying to make them read 30 minutes a day, because I want them to be able to disconnect from the electronics and
Mhm.
basically rewire their brain to be able to actually read a book. And they go, but why? Well, I just explained it to you. I just told you why. I want you to be able to critically think and learn and be able to have reading competition. But why? I just told you. But that's stupid. No, it's not. So when they don't agree with the why, that's when I get in trouble and go, oh, just not that I get mad, but I'm
Well,
just like,
I
oh,
turn it on
really?
them then. That's when I turn it on them. My son does that a lot. Well, but why? I don't understand why we have to blah blah blah. And I actually turn it on him and I say, I want you to sit and think about 3 possible reasons why we would have to do this. And magically he comes up with every answer I would have given him.
I like that. I'm gonna have to
Mhm.
steal that one.
Yep.
You give
I
me
want
3 reasons.
you I want you to tell me why. Why do
Yeah.
you think? Like I want you to think about some possibilities of why we might have to do this. And they because then you force them into it. Now it's the heat's off of me. I don't have to answer that question. I'm telling you to come up with 3 things why. Like, and they don't have to be right? But I want you to kind of spitball a guesstimate of where you think and why.
Yeah, I think what I'll have to do at that point is also take their phone away and say, you don't get it back until you give me 3 reasons why.
Oh, well, you know what even works too is my son doesn't have a phone yet, but he has an iPad. But we also have the Alexa too. And so when he starts saying, how many blah blah blahs, or what is this thing or whatever, and why does the whatever, and I'm like, you know what? Alexa might actually have a lot more
Yeah.
answers than I do, and now it's time to be resourceful and use the right tools at the right time. So like, yeah, mommy knows a lot of things, but when I say I'm not sure, I don't know the answer to that one, where else do you think you can go?
Yeah.
My daughter, I like to, because she is older, I'm like, do you have Google? Can you look it up? Or, what time does this place close? You have the same tools on your phone as I do. Now I can waste my time doing it, or you can, you're the one that wants the answer. Maybe you should start there first. And if you're still not sure, then escalate up to me.
Yeah. That's where with my 15-year-old, I'm getting to the point where I'm pushing back and saying, dude, you can figure this out just as easily as I can. Like, I don't mind. Or when he, like, my favorite at this point is, why do I have to mow the lawn? Because I don't want to.
Because I don't have to. I pay
I
the
have
bills. I did my
I have
job.
I have a 15-year-old. Guess what? We're paying him. My wife's paying him to do some yard work out front, and it's pretty hardcore, I asked, well, how much are you paying him? She said 100, and it's a multiple day, so it's not
That's
just
fair.
like for one day. And I said, Alex, what do you think? And he goes, well, 100. I should ask for 150. I said, Alex, you could do that. You want to know how much I made when I was your age doing yard work? I made go do it dollars.
Go do it dollars. I read this thing once, and ever since I taught it to my daughter, things I taught her to it very, very young, but I read this article. It was basically saying that my brother sent it to me as a military thing too, how you should never be bringing problems to your captain, your commander, whoever's the highest in charge, unless you've already tried to solve them first. So, or you should never be bringing something that's not prepared to its utmost degree that you have the capacity.
Yeah.
And so when you bring something upwards, you had better do everything possible so that by the time the commander gets it, all they have to do is either sign or make a decision, or maybe say, you know what? Yeah, we'll powwow this one and we will work through it together, and I'll never forget my daughter. I think she was like 8 years old or something. And she brought me, it was like the first day of school when they have to fill out all these papers and crap that's like, I'm like, she's been in the system for how many years in your school? So I gave them back to her. I said, you know what? You know a lot of this information and you can write. How about you try to fill in as many spaces as you possibly can that you think you're confident answering, and then bring it back to me and I'll fill in the rest. It worked out so well. Every year, she fills out all of it, unless it's like, well, I wasn't sure if you wanted this emergency contact and, blah, blah, blah. To the point where she brings it to me and I just have to sign. Competency, it can be taught.
Yeah, isn't it great? And I look at some of the things like you just said, that with the competency, too many of the Gen Z and especially millennials were never taught what competency is and what it means. And if you right now are feeling offended by that, there's probably a reason.
You're probably one of those.
Yeah. So I wrote this thing. One of the sergeant majors of the Army several years ago now, would have been probably 8 or 9 years ago now, because NCOs are famous for just yelling and screaming. And he said, if yelling and screaming is the only tool you have in your toolbox, you need to get out of the Army. And I printed this up on little business cards. And then on the back, I wrote, if you're offended by this, he means you. And I signed it, Chaplain. and I handed those things out.
Damn, shots fired. That's classic. I like that.
Well, you
Really
have these
like that.
guys, in middle management in the Army, these NCOs who are like, oh, this sucks, that sucks, and everything sucks. It's like, well, what are you doing? Well, that's not my job to figure it out. It's like, it kind of is, dude. Like, there's a reason the NCO Corps says you're the backbone of the Army. You're supposed to be doing the work. And if any NCO comes to a commander and says, hey, sir, this is the problem, and either A, you have, like you said, either haven't worked everything through or don't have potential solutions. I never went to a commander without saying, well, sir, here's the problem. All right, chaplain, what do you think? Or, sergeant, what do you think? I said, well, sir, here's what I think we should do. Or would go to him, here's the problem. Sir, I think this is what we should do. What do you think?
Right.
And I never had a problem with that. But when you don't have that solution, or at least a potential solution, then you look kind of like you're just being lazy. Yeah, courses of action. I think KJ must have jumped on because I see him in the chat under POGs Save the World. He dropped. Yeah. He did that. He's like, Lance, you've got final comments. I'm out.
Bye, Felicia. He rage quit. That's what he did. He rage quit.
Oh, he did. He popped smoke.
I mean, I'm a really avid troubleshooter. I love troubleshooting. But maybe this is why a lot of people bring problems to me. I don't know. Because I am the person that everybody drops all of their, like, I'm the person that they'll call randomly in the middle of nowhere. Like, I haven't talked to them in months, and they just randomly call and they're like, I need your help. I need you to talk me through this, and me, I'm just, to me, every problem is a fun little puzzle. And I may not always have the best answer or the best go-to, but I can tell you how to get there at the very least, or ways and directions to go, resources, tools. And I wish more people were like that. I wish more people could be problem solvers instead of problem makers or problem whiners, or I have a problem, right? And I think if everybody came in with like that competency, and that's why I like, especially for my daughter, I'm trying to like really drill that in, like, you need to be able to solve, not whine, like.
Well, I have a theory about that. I think most people just don't want to ask for help, because if you think about it, we can all solve everybody else's problems. You can't solve your own because you're inside of it. So if you're banging up up against the wall, like, you can't think outside the box yourself. It's literally impossible for you to think outside the box because you are the box. And that's why you need to go to other people and say, hey, can you help me? But no, people generally don't want to do that. So if I have a problem and I'm willing to go to somebody else and saying, hey, what do you think about this? They can give you those outside of the box ideas that you haven't thought through. But so many of us just don't want to ask for that help anymore. So that's great that you have that relationship that people will do that. It's
weird. People call me out of the blue all the time. I've just accepted that. Like, maybe am I like one of those healer people? Like, people randomly, I mean, in a bartending, we got that a lot too. People just sit and tell you all of their woes and issues. And by the time they leave, I'm like, I'll send you an invoice for that, But I think that, I think that's how people typically talk themselves outside of the box. Like women, we gab, right? We just call, have a problem, we complain and bitch about it, and like we don't come up with a solution. But then like 3 days later, we're like, oh, it's not even a problem anyways. Life's good. I'm moving on. But I think that I think the people that maybe don't want to seek help also don't want help, and they don't want it. They just want there to be problems. Have you ever noticed those types of folks where it's
drama queens?
And they like, oh my God, and trying to instill this into my daughter too. Like, she'll be like, well, but this isn't working. And I'm like, okay, well, we can cry about it. We can complain. You can sit here and keep talking, or we can just go fix it. If we fix it, then you don't have to have anything to be upset about. But if we sit here and we complain about it, we'll just keep going on all night. That's talking isn't going to fix it.
So with my counseling background, one of the things that there's this great book called Why Men Don't Listen and Women Can't Read Maps. And it talks about the difference between how men and women think. And it really is something that people don't understand, that men and women communicate differently and do things differently. Because men now this is in general, of course, men are generally very literal and women are very emotional. And so when we start talking, if she has a problem, I'll say, am I supposed to listen like a man or like a woman? Because if I'm living like a man, she's telling me the problem and I'm going to say, here's how we fix it.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's listening like a woman, I'm supposed to go, okay, that sucks. Oh, I'm sorry you're going through that. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, that must really be tough. I'm just giving the emotion back. And
Mm-hmm.
people don't understand there's this just different of how people communicate. And if you don't realize that, especially with, family members or a spouse, partner, that's where a lot of the arguments come from, because women come to guys and going, hey, I just need I need a shoulder to cry on. But guys are going, well, no, let's just fix the problem. That's not
Mm-hmm.
what they need. So if you're passing the night, so it's really interesting to see, once people know who they are and what they can do and what they need, if you're able to communicate that, how much better the kind of the fixing works.
Well, I think you also need to ask the question too, right? Like,
Sure.
I typically don't feed emotion back to people. And I do that on purpose, especially now, because the minute I like open that door to let their emotions kind of flood out, I soak it all in and it's not good for me. So, if somebody calls and like, this shitty thing happened, or I got a flat tire, or this or that, I'm not going to run through oh no, that's terrible. No, I'm running through like, hey man, that really sucks. Like, do you have, a side, uh, what's the
Roadside assistance.
thank you. The
Yeah.
roadside, you have this, like, I'm just gonna go straight to the solution. And if they're not picking up what I'm putting down, like I it gets to a point where they're not getting that emotional feedback from me and they eventually go away.
Nowadays,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
nowadays, if you say, for you, like, hey, I don't give that back because then it hurts me, they call that an empath now, right?
yeah.
And it's like, well, I mean, or it's just you don't want to be wrapped up in other people's drama. I don't do that. My wife would be like, do you like even understand what they're saying? And I'm like, no, I understand. I just don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. You really have to put like a shield up when people start expressing emotions, especially uh something that has nothing to do with you, but you're caught in the, letting it all vent out portion from them, and really instilling that you take a step back and say, this is not me. This has nothing to do with me. This does not affect me. And even if it does affect me, like maybe it involves me, or I'm part of whatever drama sphere thing that they have going on in their head, and somehow they're going to put me in the middle of all that. Your emotions are not, I don't care. I
Yeah.
cannot care. I won't care. I refuse to care, because how you're feeling about something doesn't necessarily mean that I'm wrong. And it doesn't
Yeah.
mean that um, it doesn't mean that I have anything to do with why you're upset. You could still just be upset because you're about to start your period, or you could just be upset because your dog just died last week, and now like I said hello and you suddenly had a meltdown. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't. I stopped giving that capacity to other people, and it's like, your emotions are yours, and you're welcome to go cry in a corner somewhere and do all of that. But when it comes to us having a conversation, they keep that stuff to the side. I want to get through the conversation, get to the problem, find a solution. And if you're not willing to do that because you're so caught up in your emotions and how you feel about it, I'm just not going to have the conversation.
Yeah. Not my circus, not my monkeys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The first time I heard something like that was one of my chaplain assistants said, not my boots, not my polish. And I was like, what? He goes, I don't have to polish your boots. I got to worry about my own boots. Why am I worried about yours? I was like, oh, yeah, great. And then later on, it was funny. He'd said the monkeys one. I'm like, that's a better one.
Yeah.
I've also heard not my clowns, not my circus.
I've
That's
always said, not my monkey, not my circus. And I think that a lot of that comes from learning too. I used to really take other people's issues very seriously, because I thought, wow, they're bringing that to me. Like this means it's, something that I'm going to take on as a personal, like I'm helping them do something or this or that or whatever. And now I'm just like, I got my own list of problems. Maybe I probably had more time back then, but now I'm just like, I got way too much shit to go on, get to the point, you know?
My wife jokes that maybe I was autistic because I really just didn't care. Like, those, because you look at the autism spectrum, they go, what's one of they can't social cues. They don't
Yeah.
get social cues. And I'm like, oh no, I always got the social cues. I
Mhm.
just didn't care.
Yeah. I think also, I learned kind of the hard way that, I can sit here and care about everyone and want to make the world a better place and, rainbows and butterflies. But at the end of the day, nobody else gave a shit about me.
Right?
Yep. And once I learned that, it took a few times around of learning that. But once I learned, like when I was in the position and I said, help, something's wrong, whatever the case may be. And they're like, oh man, that sucks. Have a good day. And I'm like, wait a minute. Like I just literally did a million and one things last month just to help this person, and it's not even like financial. It's not anything that requires rocket science or heart surgery. It's something very basic, like even to the point of just showing up, right? And it's just like, wow. And once you realize nobody gives a shit as much as you do, you kind of stop caring and you focus that energy to the people that it matters.
Yeah.
And
That's
most of that
yeah.
was to myself because like that was
Yeah.
I'm usually last in line and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna take care of me.
Well, and that's like in the military, they say nobody cares about your career except you.
Hmm.
So if you're going out of your way to worry about everybody else, great. Except if you're like, hey, I need you to worry about me and take care of me, they're not going to. They're not worried
Hmm.
about you. Nobody else. You're the only one who cares about you. And
Hmm.
for me, I look at it and go, okay, I care about my wife. I care about my kids. I care about some of my family members and my 2 or 3 really close friends. And other than that, I don't really. I mean, if we're still friends and I call you up and I'm in town, I had a sister do this to me. I was going back home, and I'd gone home 6 months before for something, and I didn't know you were here, and you didn't tell me, and blah blah blah. And I said, okay, well next time I'll make sure. And hey, I'm going to be out there this October. Here's the dates. When do you want to go to dinner? And I didn't hear back, and then I reached out again. I fly into town, reach out again, and then hey, I'm leaving. This is now Sunday. I'm leaving on like Wednesday, but Monday's really the only day I'm going to dinner with mom. And she's like, well, I can't because of this. I was like, well, you can come with us. And she goes, well, but my husband's doing this. I was like, you wait, what? He's at work. You can come with us. Well, no, and it was this.
Is-
Okay. Okay, you know what? And it was like 3 different things. I'd said, here's how we will accommodate. First, it was too early or too late or whatever. We'll change our time. And so there was a point where it's like, yeah, you know what? Next time I'm in town and you say you missed me and you're mad that I didn't call, I'm not going to feel bad about it.
Yeah. Well, and it's always it's your fault that we didn't get to hang out, right? It was
Yeah.
the initial claim. And then when you accommodate to say, okay, well, I'll reach out then. And then, oh, well, I'm busy, and then it's not their fault. Like it's just bad timing. And then now
Yeah.
it's still pinned on you that it's your fault because it was just poor timing that you showed up. Yeah.
Especially when it's you're the one who's coming in from out of town and going into their life.
Yeah.
Because like I look at it and go, if somebody comes to Georgia where I am and they're like, hey, I'm only going to be in town for 3 days, am I really going to turn around and go, oh, well, sorry, I have this normal thing I do on Wednesday night, so I can't come see you. No,
Right.
you're going to be in town. That's
Right.
special. You're only here. I'm going to say, but most people, I don't think most people do that. Most people are like, well, I have my life to live. Okay, then,
Yeah,
dude.
I mean, I'm all for well, there are some things where I'm like, I can't put that down, right? Or, things that move around, but certainly I'll go out of my way to figure something else out to accommodate if I can. But I don't know. I just stopped. I stopped caring so much about people, and I stopped moving mountains for everyone else when they wouldn't even, dig a hole if I needed one. So
Yeah. Well, let's go full circle then. That makes you the perfect moderator because you don't care
as I don't give a
really what people's arguments are. You come on, as long as you're here and you're entertaining and you make me money in my chat room, I'm good.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much nail on the head. I mean, I'm not emotionally attached to these people. I mean, they're all great people naturally, but we're all
no, they aren't. Not all of them.
Not all of them, but we're all content creators, right? It's the name of the game, right? This is a business, and I operate very much so like a business, and that's how I look at it. That's how I talk to people. That's how I interact and engage with them. A private chat, I mean, obviously you saw all of that. It's very as professional as I can keep it. It's straight and to the point. A lot of people sometimes will, make fun of the other person that they were debating, or they'll be like, yeah, I did this. And I'm like, haha, and I keep it, I don't throw in my own thoughts. I just kind of keep it simple and easy and to the point, because I don't ever want that coming back like, well, yeah, Sarah said that you were terrible, whatever. Like, I'll never do that, because to me, I'm not that invested to give you my opinions, or interact with people privately. There are very few people that I even talk to outside of just being on screen or getting them to be on a panel. There's very few people I'll have a conversation about anything other than that. And I can count on one hand, and I keep it that way on purpose.
Yeah.
Because once you emotionally attach yourself to another content creator, then you feel like there's some kind of like obligation, or that you owe them something, or we're friends, or, and then that's how people start trying to either take advantage of you, or they utilize any kind of personal conversations against you, or anything of the such. And I've already been through that, and I'll never do that again. And people are people.
Yeah. Well, that sounds like a good stopping point. Because I will say, hey, as much as you can be friends, I appreciate you giving me the time, because to me, that's the basis of a friendship, is when somebody is willing to give you of their time. And I know you could have been doing other things on a Sunday night, and I'm sure KJ would say the same thing, that we really do appreciate you coming on. And hopefully, there aren't a ton of people watching, but it's more than we ever get. So
really,
if you've been on and you've been watching Sarah and all that, we appreciate everybody who's stayed on. And so I'm going to do the end stream here. I think it will end your stream too. Is that how it works?
Yep.
Okay. So if you're on after this, we'll have a quick chat, and then we appreciate that. KJ, thank you. KJ, who decided to have bad Wi-Fi in California, just like everything else in California.
Unacceptable.
It's bad.
Unacceptable. Do better.
And that's why you don't ever want to move to California. And with that, you guys, we will be here next week, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And in the meantime, check out Sara the Raging Tomato and her channel, and make sure you give her lots of likes. Earlier, she had something going on. There were a bunch of people watching, only like 15 likes. So I made sure I went and clicked the like button. But until then, you guys have a great week, and we will see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Gee, mate, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
All right, yo, let's get into it.
Try to take over the world. Try to take over the world.
And greatest chaplain in the world, Mr.
Try
Lance
to
O'Neill.
take over the world.